Good evening. Welcome to the channel. Let's see what we got here. We got isotope. We have what looks like an Atmos mix, and we have the meter. And we can see that the Atmos meter is set to -18. So that means, so what are we doing tonight? I'm sorry, folks, I didn't properly introduce the video. So a few months ago, I released my first Atmos Dolby Spatial mix, and I didn't natively work in Atmos, but what I did was I did a regular stereo version of the track, and then I exported the basic major parts of the session as stems, and then I took those stems and I mixed them in Atmos, and then I released it in Dolby Atmos, which was just a whole lot of fun to do. Now, the most difficult part of the mix was getting everything so it would hit the spec of -18. And in order to do that, I utilized Ozone, and I used Ozone in multi-output mode, which allowed me to fully utilize it as a mix platform for the actual Atmos mix. So I was able to set up the output gain and the output level, as you can see here, at -18, a little below -18. And I delivered my mix successfully. It wasn't rejected. It went straight away up into iTunes and is up there. You can listen to it in Spatial. So I'm just going to play the track from front to back. I've done some automations, so you'll see the various panners, binaural and surround moving around a little bit. The object and the surround panners, so they will light up momentarily. And here you go, Dolby Atmos in all of its glory. Now I've turned the maximizer off, and you can see the output immediately gets louder. And I think one of the things that's a little different for mixing in Atmos is that your mixes are actually pretty quiet, which is why it's a little different than mixing, say, traditional music, where traditional pop music, where that LUF is at -11. When you're in the mixing environment, I often found myself really turning up the monitor volume, especially in the surround setup that I had, to really hear everything, because it was a much softer level of what I was used to hearing. And often mixes get rejected because the output levels are too loud. And so it's a little disconcerting in some ways at how soft everything is. So I just wanted to turn the main output limiter on and off just so you can hear the difference. So it's in now. You can see how soft it is. Much louder now. And so that's the track. You can hear it in the full final version of it on iTunes if you'd like. But it was a very difficult track to mix, and I did some automation within the Atmos panners themselves, and that was a lot of fun to do that in real time as a sort of a real time mixing effect, just to create some more imaging and some more interesting effects as the spatial format allows. So I think it's always a little confusing in this format because there are so many varying philosophies and methods and techniques. The only one that's a absolute must do is that main output level. And so that's I think the more difficult part of the Atmos thing is to understand that you're going to be delivering a much softer, quieter file because your LUFS levels are going to be overall much lower. Now, as for working natively in Logic in Surround, I'm not there yet, and I have some real mixed feelings about the format. I don't think all music sounds really good in it. I think some music sounds better in it than others. I think anything that's got a lot of atmosphere, space, ambience, I think is great for an Atmos file. So that's just me. I know everybody's been releasing pop music and various types of music in Atmos, so I'm not making any judgments really. I'm just saying what my preference is as an artist. So please check out the track on iTunes. It's Frozen. It's on Tidal, I believe, in Spatial, and it's also on iTunes in Spatial. And with that, have a great Sunday.